Common parenting regrets and worries. Hi ladies, it's Abby McKenna here from Ready Set Mum, and today we're going to be talking about some of the common mum regrets that most of us, if not all of us, experience. Now this was a really important article and video to make. So what we've done is we've gone out and spoken to over 40 mums and collaborated research and got specific stories, situations and examples of things that mums literally worry about all the time. Now, if you're anything like me, the worrying and the research and the concern and finding out what you needed to do to be a good mum and what you needed to do to be a bad mum, if that's what you wanted to be or you didn't want to be, you wanted to avoid, started from the moment that you found out that you were pregnant with your little one. And literally it feels like we've just been thrown into a kaleidoscope of, well, shit, right? You don't know what's right or what's wrong. There's so much information out there. Some of it's really fantastic. Some of it not so much. Some of it works for you, some of it doesn't. So here is the collaboration of some of the most important things that people worry about, and you'll probably start to see a little bit of a pattern. And we'll talk about that as we go along. So some of the biggest concerns that mums had when they were, or regrets, looking back, was that they didn't spend enough time with their children. They were either too busy or too tired. I know myself, I used to drop my little ones off to childcare early in the morning, go and do a full day's work, stay late after work, pick them back up, try and get a nutritious meal with them, try and spend time with them even though I was exhausted and I love them, but I was tired and I didn't really enjoy it. And then I'd pray that they would go to bed at night so I could get more work done. And my weekends were filled with work because I was busy providing for them. And one of my biggest regrets was that for my first daughter, especially Ayla, that I missed out on so much time because I wasn't there. And which leads us to the next one, that so many mums say that when they do have time, they're not present. And that's exactly what I was like. I was so tired, so exhausted, and my mind was over here worrying about this person or my workplace bully or what I needed to get done on the weekend or my deadlines at work, that even if I did have time with them, I really struggled. I really struggled to be present with them in the moment at times, unless I had scheduled out, some serious time where I was like, right, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturday, we're going down to the lake and I'm going to be involved with my children. And sometimes that just really seemed hard because really, honestly, I just probably wanted to sleep. And then kids, why? And you're trying to help them to develop and trying to help them learn and trying to make them feel loved. And a lot of women felt like they weren't present. Another one of the major concerns was that parents felt like they did too much for their kids. Okay, so they felt like they were always there because as parents we're busy, and sometimes, it's just the most efficient way. Clean your room. We've got to go out. We've got people coming. Clean your room. And then you wind up doing it for them yourself because you've got so much going on that it's just easier to do it yourself, okay? But what happens then is that we don't really give them an opportune chance to learn, do we? They don't learn the basic life skills because we're busily doing it for them, okay? And then some people felt like they saved their kids too much. Now this is such a hard one, that they went into bat for their kids and they went in to protect their kids. Now we are our child's biggest ambassador. We need to be there to go into bat for them, but maybe not all the time, because kids learn through experience and they learn through mistakes. And as a parent, it can be really hard to see your child suffer. It can be really hard to see them uncomfortable. Even though my kids are really little, it sometimes hurts us and we have to take a step back and go, well, they need to go through this experience. They need to see that there's consequences. If they do something wrong, if we save them all the time, they'll never learn that there's actually any consequences for their actions. So they have to do that. And as a teacher, as a previous educator, a learning space comes from discomfort. Learning comes from being outside of your comfort zone. You don't know what you're doing, you haven't mastered it yet, so it's going to be uncomfortable. So our job can be to support them through it. And in the article that we've actually provided for you, we've got examples of solutions to some of these main concerns and some of these main worries. Some parents then, now you're going to start to see the pattern, okay, on the other side of the bat, felt like they didn't save their children enough, or they didn't protect them enough. A number of women actually said, I was brought up with parents who questioned me and questioned my integrity and questioned how honest I was being, because, you know, kids don't always speak the truth. And as a result, that's how I approached my kids. If they came to me and told me one of their worries and one of their concerns, I didn't always take it as truth. And as a result, a lot of kids experience things that, you know, their parents felt like they shouldn't have experienced, and they weren't able to form a relationship with them where their child would just approach them and tell them when they were in trouble because they didn't believe them enough. That trust relationship takes time, especially as teenagers. We have to prove that we trust them. But then, of course, there's certain things that you do have to question, because kids are kids. I was naughty as a kid. Okay, I remember being out. My friends were much older than me, so this is an absolute prime example. My friends were much older than me, and I was at a friend's. I can't remember if it was an 18th or a 21st, whatever. There was alcohol involved, and I think I was about 17. And I had a curfew that I had to catch a taxi home, and I had a curfew that I had to be home by midnight, and I didn't want to come home. So I rang my mum and told her that there was no taxis available, that I'd rang the taxis and there was none there, and then I rang her half an hour later and there was no taxis available. Well, about 45 minutes later, a taxi rocked up at the party, tooted the horn, the taxi driver got out and just screamed my name, and everyone pointed at me. And they said, your mother rang me. She said, get in the car and she'll speak to you when you, look, I'm stammering now because I was like terrified of the consequences, and I was so embarrassed. I nearly wet my pants. I was that embarrassed. She'll speak to you when you get home. She didn't talk to me when I got home. I just got told to go to my room, and I was too scared to come out for ages after that. But my mum knew damn well that I was lying, that I just wanted to stay at the party. So she went around me and called the taxi and found out that I was lying. On the other side of the scale, you know, my parents, my dad especially, I knew that my safety and my welfare was always going to be put first, because they were discussions that we'd had, and he'd proved that time and time again. So if there was an instance where I didn't have a designated driver home and I hadn't arranged really good plans, especially as a teenager and a young adult, I was safe to tell him what was going on, and I knew that he was going to come in and bat for me and protect me, because my safety and my welfare was number one. And that we'd probably have a conversation about what to do next time, but there wasn't necessarily going to be any consequences with my dad for waking him up or whatever else. So that trusting relationship, and you know, that's a hard one, what to save your kids from and what not to, because there are some things that children should not be exposed to. There are some things that we need to protect them from because they are innocent and it can be detrimental. So make some decisions about, you know, what you will go into bat for your kids, and have those conversations about your expectations and talking to them. Okay, another really big concern, and I found this especially with single mums. Really honestly, a lot of single mums said this, or a lot of mums that were stay at home and their partners were on call out or FIFO, fly in, fly out, was that they expected their child to grow up too quickly. And I know for a lot of mums, they felt like when the second child came along, that their first child sort of just had to step up to the job of helping out. You know, they were asking their 2-year-olds to go get nappies and go get wipes and help hand out dinner, and, you know, please leave me alone, and whatever that is. And we feel guilty about everything that we do, both ends of the scale. You know, in life would be perfect if we all had hindsight, wouldn't it? And one of the solutions that we suggest to this is that just remind yourself that kids deserve to be kids. You know, they only get to live through childhood one time, and it is okay to give children age appropriate tasks. My 4-year-old helps me unpack the dishwasher, she scrapes her plate, she helps make her bed, she unpacks her bag, you know, and that's still providing her with life skills. But we take out time for her to just be a child, to go to the park and take her shoes off and just run around and be innocent and feel joy without having too many boundaries and expectations. So that was sometimes circumstance can really do this to us. Another one of the big concerns that a lot of mums had was that they weren't open and honest enough about their situations and their emotions with their children. They would often hide from their kids that there was stuff going on and everything wasn't hunky-dory. And a lot of them felt like this was a generational thing, that they just sort of stepped into the same role that their mum had because that's what their mum had done. So you can see how that learning comes down. And you know, it's not good for a child to see you absolutely distraught and disheveled. You are their lines of safety to the world. You really are. So if you are feeling unsafe, or you're in a line of safe where where you are distraught, they are going to worry about you and be concerned, which can, it affects their ability to learn, it affects their ability to feel safe. But being open and honest with your child is absolutely fine. You are a fantastic role model for them, and we need to model how to go out there and deal with life. So if you are talking about yourself feeling down, or you've had a bit of a busy day, or someone's upset you, talk about those things so they know that it's okay to talk about our feelings. If we don't talk about our feelings, and kids are sponges, they know everything. They know you're not okay. You don't have to tell them, all right? You don't have to tell them. So let them know, talk about your feelings, and that invites them to go, oh, hang on, it's okay to talk about my feelings. And if you've got a certain situation, let them know how you're managing it. If you've been bullied before, or you're being bullied at the moment, without going too far into it to the point where they start worrying about you, you can talk to them about the strategies you're using to manage that situation, or how you're managing all the different jobs, and then your kids will be able to model that in the future, and they will be able to learn from you. Another real main concern that a lot of women had, and both ends of the scales as well, was that they had kids too old. Or they had kids too young, okay? And there was a lot of older mums that felt like they didn't have the energy, that they just left it a little bit too late, and they saw all these dollies, all these young mums running around with their kids, and at mothers groups they felt like the absolute grandma, because they'd waited, all right? They'd waited to have their career, or have that perfect relationship, or have their finances stable, and that's smart. I don't think that we have to feel guilty about that. And older mums, usually you've got a plethora of life experience, a wealth of knowledge that you can use to your advantage. You can help to teach your children emotional intelligence and all of these things that we were talking about. And there was a lot of young mums that felt like they'd really missed out, and some of them actually started to resent their children because they felt like having a child meant they missed out on their youth, that they were babies having babies themselves. That they couldn't just go out with their friends, and that it did put a financial burden on them, or they weren't big enough to grow at that stage, which meant that they held their children back, or they weren't developed enough to deal with the emotional complexities of their own life, let alone the emotional complexities that a child brings, and how you need to be able to fulfill the emotions and the development of a child. And there are a lot of people and organizations out there that can help all mums, and we have listed some of these in the article that has been written. And then there are a lot of mums that just don't enjoy it all the time. And let's be honest, who does, right? Who can honestly say, I enjoy every single living minute of motherhood? It's not enjoyable, okay? All the time. Sometimes it's absolutely spectacular, but sometimes you're tired and you're sick of asking people to go to bed, and you're pulling your hair out, and then you come home and you've had a busy day, and life's happened, and you have to get dinner on the table, and sometimes it can feel a little bit too much. But some people felt like they didn't have the support, and they felt like that all the time, and they just didn't do a good job. Mums, you're doing an amazing job. Okay, you do the best with what you've got. And like we said, hindsight would be wonderful if we had it at the time, and regrets and worries and concerns don't have to be a bad thing, okay? You can actually use them, stop and look at them if you're not happy with what's going on, and learn from them and say, how can I do this better next time? And I think that's a really important one when it comes down to lots of mums just said I wasn't consistent. And I've written this in the article, I fail really badly at this one. I used to fail really badly at this one because I'm just not a consistent person. It's really funny because my mum is so full of routine, and I'm just not a routine person. But kids thrive from consistency. They thrive from predictability, and especially around certain things. So a solution to this can have a set of non-negotiables in which you are consistent with. So for me, during the week, bedtime is a non-negotiable, okay? I have to be flexible in that sometimes because we do travel a lot. Discipline and consequences and expectations with my kids, that's something that I'm completely consistent about. My kids know their limits. There's no stress for them because they know what the guidelines are. They know how far is too far, and they know what the consequences are going to be if they push that. And as young children, they need to know that because they want to push boundaries, and they will. You don't even have to give them a chance. They're going to do it. It's kids, it's what they do. So, and the other one is my values, okay? So we really value happiness. So we actually take time out of the day, every single day, just to laugh together and have fun together and love each other and those sort of things. So you might find that you're consistent with the things that matter and the things that make your life easy, but you don't have to be consistent all the time, and you can also be flexible. Now, mums, there is a fantastic article where we've actually gone through situations. We've given you quotes, we've given you the main concerns, worries, fears, regrets from mums from all over the world, some of the beautiful mums that contribute here at Ready Set Mum, and we've given suggestions or solutions for how you can counteract these concerns. But at the end of the day, don't worry too much. Give your time when you can. You know, your kids measure their safety by how much time you spend doing the things that are important to them and they like. My 4-year-old at the moment is into this crazy Minecraft game. I hate computer games. I can't, it drives me stupid. But you know what? For an hour every 4 days, I pretend like I really, really love it. Okay. And she's happy, and then I get the reward from her being happy from that. Do what you can. Read that article. Let us know if you have any further suggestions, because at the end of the day, it takes a village, and we are all here to help mums. And we can't wait to see you again back here at Ready Set Mum really soon.